Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, we got a great show for you today. We're going to start out talking a little bit about old Joe. You know, he's got the nomination locked up now. He's been endorsed by everybody. But there's one group he apparently has not been endorsed overwhelmingly by, and that is the young people of America. So we're going to talk about, does Joe have a youth problem? And then we're going to update you a little bit on Venezuela. You know, last year we talked a lot about Venezuela. Of course, with this coronavirus, it seems to have taken a backdrop. But things are not well, as you can imagine, in Venezuela. And in many, many ways, they are a precursor to what could actually happen here. So we're going to talk about that. And then it's unbelievable, but Rush Limbaugh, the Godfather, has offered DJT, Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States, he's offered him a job. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Joe Biden, starting with CNN article here, Joe Biden has a young voter problem. Former Vice President Joe Biden welcomed endorsements this week from former 2020 rival, the Burn Master, Bernie Sanders, and former President Barack Obama. And he's also just gotten Liawapa, Elizabeth Warren, to jump in. After all, Biden needs all the help, according to this article, he can get with a group of voters that Sanders and Obama are popular among. And that is young voters. Now, I started wondering, well, why is it that old Joe would have a problem with young voters? He says he's just as progressive as Bernie Sanders, and Barack Obama said that Joe's going to be the most progressive person that's ever been president of the United States. And one thing we know for sure, whoever came out of that 2020 field was going to, whether they're going to be president or not, is going to be up to you, the American people. At least I hope it is. But we knew for a fact, no matter who came out of that group, they're going to be the most hardcore leftist any major party has ever put forward. That we knew. But I wonder, why would young people have a problem with Joe Biden? Could it possibly be that he's done something like this on the campaign trail?
Student at Mercer University, and oh, awesome. So I'm going to be a little bit more, okay? So so you're arguably the candidate with the greatest advantage in this race. You've been the vice president. You weren't burdened down by the impeachment trials. Or in the participation. So how do you explain the performance in Iowa, and why should the voters believe that you can win the national election?
It's a good question. Number one, Iowa's a Democratic caucus. You ever been to a caucus? No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. It was a little bit confusing in Iowa.
That's good
Number
enough.
one. But
I mean, first of all, when Joe Biden starts taking any clothes off in front of you, it's time to get a wee bit nervous, especially if you're a young lady like him, because Joe, I'm surprised he didn't go over there and ask her for a sniff maybe or something. But he called her a lying dog-faced pony boy. I mean, first of all, she ain't a boy, although with some of them Democrats, it's hard to tell. But I'm sure she didn't know what the heck he was talking about. I'm not sure he did. And he said, first, I'm a caucus. I'm a Democratic caucus. What is a Democratic caucus? Now, I know what a caucus is, but I don't think an individual, they could be a caucus goer, but I don't think you by yourself can be a caucus. And he said there, right when I cut it off, he says, first of all, it was a bit confusing in Iowa. No joke. And people have already seemed to have forgotten, of course, the mainstream media wants you to forget, that Joe, man, was dead on arrival going into South Carolina. Joe Biden has always been a lousy candidate. He was lousy. He is still a lousy candidate. And, now he's getting a bit senile. Let's just he's got dementia going on. I mean, think about this, really. Everybody was writing Joe Biden off, said he was dead, DOA, man. His campaign was dead as a doornail. And in some ways, he still is. South Carolina basically just propped up that's why I call him Bloated Joe, because he just kind of floated out there in the ocean. You know, I'm an old salty dog, man. And he floated out there in like the Gulf of Mexico, and I guess off Atlantic side be South Carolina, the Atlantic. And the voters are so desperate for somebody to beat Donald Trump, they just grabbed a hold. When you're drowning, you'll grab a hold of anything. And Biden was floating by, man. But, you question, is there any wonder why young voters might not find Joe appealing? Biden at this point seems to be underperforming, according to this article, 2016 Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton with that block of voters. In other words, Hillary did better. Could it be? I'm just asking questions. Could it be he's just old and they fear he's not up to the job? Could that be? I mean, policies aside, because Biden is going to do whatever they tell him to do. I mean, it's pretty clear that first of all, Biden is plenty liberal enough. So any of you, and I hesitate to say this because I don't want you Bernie bros to vote for Joe Biden, but yet Joe is establishment, but so is Bernie. But if you're thinking Joe's not progressive enough, trust me, Joe is a leftist, man. He's as progressive as we could possibly stand to be, and more than we absolutely need to be. But could it be that young people are just taking a look, and contrary to what the media wants them to believe, they're looking and saying, if this was my grandpa, man, I would take his driver's license away. I wouldn't let him drive me around town. Could that be that they just don't think he's up for the job? I mean, take a look at this picture of Joe Biden with his eye basically popping out. He starts bleeding out of his eyeball. If you're young, man, you're going to look at it and go, ah! I mean, if you saw that coming around the corner like, The Walking Dead, man, wouldn't you pop him in the head? I mean, give me a break, man. Or could it be like in this debate right here? And this is actually live in a debate. Check this out.
If you couldn't get it done after Sandy Hook, why should voters give you another chance?
Because it got done before. I'm the only one up here who's ever beat the NRA.
I work with old people all the time, man. My wife has a home healthcare business, so we work with we love old people, man. My mom just passed this last year, and I was her primary caregiver right up to she was 98 years old. I love me some old folks, okay? I mean, we have a history in my family of taking care of our old people. That's why I know what I'm talking about. But Joe's sitting there, his eyes are popping out, blooding out. His teeth in that video, in case you didn't catch it, you go watch it again. His teeth are falling out. I mean, one thing's for sure, a lot of these old politicians, when they if they get defeated, they go on like Dancing with the Stars and stuff. If Joe goes on Dancing with the Stars, when he does a twirl move, you better duck, because something is going to fly out of that dude. There isn't any doubt about it. Of course, he might not be twirling. He'd probably just be hugging the gal up there the whole time. Biden leads Trump by 14 points on average among young people right now, is what they're saying. He's, in other words, doing about 10 points worse than Clinton did. Of course, we know these polls. We know what they mean sometimes. Even as he is leading Trump by a wider margin, 6 points overall, than Clinton was in the closing days of the 2016 campaign. Well, first of all, I thought that Hillary was going to win 99.9%, right? We saw how that worked out. But if true, if this poll is true and it were to hold up through into November with the youth vote, Joe Biden is in some trouble. Young people, here's the thing, and I don't know that seeing more of old Joe is actually going to help at all, because if the young people see more of Joe, aren't they going to think less of him? Really? So I don't know if that's the solution. And another thing, and I mentioned this on the show a couple of days ago when it came out that Obama endorsed Biden. Oh, by the way, if you want to see our podcast, the easiest way to do it, if you're on Facebook, is go directly to John Martin Talks Facebook page. Of course, I hope you'll like it and share it with others. You can check out our YouTube channel. Spell it all the way out, John Martin Talks. We're archiving our shows there on a daily basis, so you can see us there. Please go and subscribe. We could use a few more pops on YouTube. Thank you for those who are doing it. And you can also see us on any of the Facebook networks. But America's Voice News is now broadcasting us on their network. You can download the free app, iPhone, Android, Apple TV, Fire Stick, Roku. We're also on Pluto TV, which is a streaming channel. And we're now on Dish Network, channel 219. So we are universal. The ancient aliens are probably looking at us right now. Howdy, when y'all coming back? If you do, bring toilet paper. But Joe Biden, I mean, we're on there, back up a minute, we're on America's Voice News, and they're archiving our shows as well. So we're honored to be there. But Joe Biden, man, he could be in trouble. But Obama, getting back to my point, Billy Bob says, get to the point, boy. This is my psychic sidekick, Billy Bob Bass, man. Some of us are sicker than others. You look that up, you'll probably see me. He keeps me straight. He has a Twitter handle, by the way. It's at Billy Bob Bass 1, and mine is at John Martin Talk. But we talked about Obama endorsing him. Now, some people have been saying that Obama's going to get out. And, of course, Obama in his video kind of alluded to this campaign. The whole shut-in thing depends a lot on whether or not you can get out, that type of thing. But I wonder if Obama, let's say they could go back to traditional campaigning and Obama could come out at rallies and introduce Joe. Well, it's going to be downhill from there. The minute Obama quits speaking, is it going to take an uptick when Joe Biden gets there? I really believe that having Obama, yes, it's good for Joe that he finally, and I stress the finally, endorsed him because he didn't want Joe to run. We all know that. But Obama is a pretty good orator. As a matter of fact, he's a very good orator. Joe Biden is Joe Biden. So I don't know. And then they talk about the VP. Everybody's talking about who's going to be his VP. Well, he says it's going to be a woman, and maybe he should get Bruce Caitlyn Jenner or whatever, because she could go either way. But Biden, whoever he picks for his VP, it really don't matter. They're going to overshadow him too. And of course, that might actually be the real president of the United States. So we may need to take a look at that. But I think Biden has got a little bit of a problem, not only with young people in general, but I don't know that he can actually solve that, because more Biden doesn't equal more excitement among young people, I can tell you. And the bottom line, and some people may take this as a criticism of President Trump. I don't really mean it that way. I'm just stating a fact. It could be that having two old white dudes, and one way older than the other and not near as competent, on the ballot, that young people might just stay at home. I know there are young people who are definitely fired up about Donald Trump, so I expect them to come. But it could be that young people just go, two old white dudes, hey, whatever. I'm going to the beach if they open it. I don't know. It could be. All right, we're going to bring you up to speed a little bit about what is happening in Venezuela. This comes to you from the Greenwich Times. Oil-rich Venezuela is running out of gas. Now, keep in mind, I mean, they may be running out of gas. Ain't nothing to eat, so they can't produce any gas. I think Billy Bob tells me it's a different kind of gas. But Venezuela, by most accounts, is sitting on the largest proven oil reserves in the world. But they got no gas. Socialism works great, right? Caracas, Venezuela, with friends and family stuck indoors and buses rarely running, Ones Munoz missed several life-saving dialysis sessions for his failing kidneys. When his blood pressure started dangerously spike, he had one option left, a 20-minute hike to the nearest clinic. He had to hike because he can't drive his car because he got no gas. In Venezuela, the largest proven reserves. They're also running out of water, by the way. Think about that. They live in a rainforest, and only socialism can't find water in a rainforest or produce gas on the largest reserves on the planet. I mean, it is unbelievable. Venezuela's strict national coronavirus lockdown wasn't his main problem. Rather than his broken country, which boasts the world's largest proven oil reserves, like I say, is running out of gas. Welcome to socialism. This is what socialism ultimately looks like. You know what they say, you can vote yourself into socialism, but you got to shoot your way out. If you can find bullets, you probably can't find bullets. But Mr. Munoz said, he's 28 years old, he said there was no medicines before and now no gasoline. He lives in the coastal Carabobo state, 2 hours from the capital of Caracas. When drugs were scarce last year, he said, he went 8 months without medication. Now he can source his medicines, but the gasoline shortage has made his dialysis sessions at a hospital 17 miles from his home nearly impossible to reach. So he needs dialysis, and he's got to walk 17 miles to get it. So, yeah, socialism. There you go. We're all for it, man. He asked, what hope do I have? Well, I can tell you, not much. And if we actually elect the Democrats back into presidential office, and let alone, because think about it, if we get a Democratic president, they're probably going to take the Senate and keep the House and everything else. We have a totally dominated Democratic nation. Well, we're going to find out exactly what Venezuela, because that's what they've been actually campaigning to bring this stuff here, right? Democratic Party, as I say, wants to bring this here. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. What are they bragging about? It's not when Bernie dropped out of the race, which was inevitable. He's going to sell out no matter what. I hate to tell you, Bernie bros, Bernie was always going to sell out. I'll tell you this, I hadn't said it in a couple of days, but Bernie, the proof, Bernie did not campaign hard against Hillary Clinton. He campaigned hard as going around, but he didn't take her on at all. Refused to. He refused to take on Joe Biden. In the last shot he had in a debate, he literally gave Joe Biden a pass. Really. I mean, he did. So he didn't try to campaign. Plus, if you ever wanted to know whether Bernie was a establishment guy, I've been telling you that for a while. All you got to do is go back and look at the campaign of Ocasio-Cortez, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Bernie didn't support her. He supported the 26-year incumbent Crowley. He didn't support Ocasio-Cortez until he needed her to help him. That's all you really need to know. Bernie has always been establishment. But the one thing they've been bragging about now that Bernie's dropped out is how he has changed the dialogue, how he has pulled the Democratic Party to the left. I mean, you hear that over and over and over. And it's true. It's absolutely true. And which way has he pulled them? Towards socialism, towards communism. And Biden has signed off on every bit of that. So if you're thinking that somehow that Biden is not a socialist, then you hadn't been paying much attention, because he absolutely is. And here's the thing in our country right now, we're seeing it on a daily basis. This coronavirus is giving the leftists, which control the Democratic Party and the mainstream media. I know some of you Democrats out there may not like Donald Trump, but you have to admit, if you're honest with yourself, that your party, which used to be my party until about a decade or so ago when I got really woke. And let me back up and tell you, I'm not about to say, if you hadn't been watching my show, let me make this straight. First of all, where you been? Secondly, howdy, glad to have you. But I don't think the Republicans are all that in a bag of chips. I don't think they have all the answers. I switched to the Republican Party a decade or more ago because I knew that the Democratic Party was completely bankrupt of ideas and that they were pushing a socialist agenda. I could see that back then, and that they were destroying the Constitution, which is the most important thing to me, Republican or Democrat, period. You know, one reason why we can't agree on anything now is because we don't agree on the fundamental thing, which is that we're a constitutional republic. That's the root of all of our problems. But and that's kind of a theme of my show. Sorry, I'm having a little problem with it. Sometimes I do. Gremlins, man, that's what it is. But back to why I changed parties. The Democrats were bankrupt of ideas. The Republicans, like I say, I'm not saying they have all the answers, but there are a handful, like my outgoing Representative Ted Yoho. He's decided to retire. Thank you, sir. I know for your service. I think his birthday was this past Monday. Belated happy birthday to you, sir. But there are a few Republicans that actually will ask questions and stand for something. There are no Democrats left, not leaders. Now, you Democrats in your party, you may be, but your leaders, you're led by the progressive left. So I say this to Democrats all the time. Yes, walk away if you want to, but take your party back, because make no mistake about it, it is not the party of JFK. It has gone from ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, to what's in it for me and everything's free. I mean, that's the way it has been. The Democrats' mantra right now is that America sucks. It's always sucked. It sucks more for some than others, but if you elect us, we'll make it suck for everybody equally. That is America Sucks. Comes straight from the Democratic Party. Stung by one of the globe's worst economic, back to Venezuela, stung by one of the globe's worst economic crisis long before anyone had heard of COVID-19, the socialist nation is used to deprivation. Think about that. They're used to it. Socialist countries are used to it. You don't think Cuba, they're pretty used to being deprived there. Russia, pretty much. China, quite a bit. I mean, you look where socialists and communists, which are basically socialism, pretty much always leads to communism. They're used to living up to deprivation. It's the sad truth of it all. Venezuelans have struggled for years against shortages of everything from food to toilet paper to drinkable water. Does that sound familiar? Brought to you here, this one thing we're getting a little taste of if we're having to wait in line and we got shortage. Did you ever think that you would go into a department store, a grocery store? I mean, one thing about America, man, the greatest thing that shows how capitalism works is going into a grocery store. Before this pandemic hit us, there wasn't a grocery store around that wasn't just loaded. There's some that are better than others, no question about it. I'm not going to advertise for one, but they're loaded down. I mean, that's the miracle of the United States of America. But so now we are experiencing, do you ever think you'd have to go and see the shelves empty, standing in line to get into a grocery store and not even be able to get what you want? I got toilet paper, by the way. Hey, man, life is good and blessed here and hunkered down in the bunker here. But this is what the Democratic Party wants to bring to you. They want to bring this to you. So we've been getting a little taste of what it's like to live in a failed socialist state like Venezuela. Shortages of gasoline, nearly free and considered a national entitlement. So they free. Gasoline was pretty much free. Same thing like in Iran, pretty much was free. In Saudi Arabia, considered a national entitlement in this OPEC nation, began in some parts of the country years ago as local refineries started to fail because they don't have parts. And smugglers funneled truckloads of cheap Venezuelan fuel to black markets in Colombia and Brazil. Let me just tell you, this is one of those points in the show where if you don't get anything outside the show, get this. Lean in, snowflakes. Free doesn't work. It never works. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Somebody is paying for it. And if you're getting it for free, a couple of things. One, you're not going to value it. And secondly, you're in control of somebody else is in control of you. Free? I'm not talking about freedom because that's paid for by the blood of patriots. But everything free, and you get used to that, which is what the Democratic Party wants you to be. Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Obama, it really don't matter. They want you to be addicted to big government. That's one of the big things that is dangerous about this stimulus package. We become dependent on government. If it's free, you know what won't be? You and me. We won't be. Freedom is not free. But analysts are calling the severity of the current gas shortage unprecedented, so bad that vegetables are rotting on the farms. So it's amazing. You actually need fuel to get vegetables. Why not a Green New Deal? They could get the Democratic jackasses to deliver it, right? Doctors can't work, and even the people of Caracas, a bubble ordinarily spared the worst of Venezuela's misery, are waiting for gas lines miles long. This is coming from a country that has the largest proven oil reserves on the planet, and they have to wait in gas lines if they can even get it. I guess what they really need is a Green New Deal, right? They need Ocasio-Cortez to come to their rescue. So what would be happening? This is, if you want to know what a Green New Deal, we do away with fossil fuels, and you want to know what's going to happen? There won't be any truck drivers. Thank God for you truck drivers out there. I don't say it enough. Whoop, whoop. Thank God for you truck drivers, man. They're what's saving our behinds right now, and at least letting them be clean to get the toilet paper to us. I think one thing about it, when the ancient aliens, because like I said, we're broadcasting out on Dish TV, channel 219. When the ancient aliens out there watching, when they come, and if we all die, which we're all going to die someday, if they come and they find us buried, the one thing they're going to say is, I don't know what killed them, but they got the cleanest behinds I've ever seen. The coronavirus, meanwhile, is presenting Venezuela's already crippled, pay attention to this, crippled healthcare system with a critical test. one that local doctors say is uniquely unprepared to pass. Let me read that part again. Venezuela's already crippled healthcare system with a critical test, one that local doctors say is uniquely unprepared to pass. I mean, I thought socialism was the key. Are you telling me? I mean, wait a dadgum minute here. Slow down. Let me just think about this. Are you telling me that socialism is in fact bad medicine? It sounds like it, man. It sounds like it to me. I mean, how are these countries? Think about this. We're doing pretty good. I mean, or could we do better? Yeah. But no one's going without a ventilator. Contrary to what you sometimes hear on TV, no one's going without. We're building hospitals we're not even using. Okay, so we have one thing about capitalism. It does have access, excess, but I'm glad we have access to the excess. That's hard to say sometimes. Kind of just popped in my head. Ain't no telling what's rattling around up here. Get it straight. Toot, toot, toot. But healthcare, isn't it supposed to be the socialism? I mean, the countries that are really struggling right now, all over Europe, they're struggling. Part of it's because their healthcare is not what ours is. Imagine that. The myriad reasons behind the gas shortages underscore the breadth of Maduro's woes. So Mr. Maduro, the current dictator called president of Venezuela, is struggling a bit. Venezuela, as I said earlier, and we reiterated here, Venezuela sits on a massive oil reserves, but a lack of spare parts and a brain drain of technicians have crippled its gasoline refineries. A lack of spare parts and a brain drain. That's amazing. I mean, really, and my heart goes out to the people of Venezuela. You know, we got a ever-growing population of Venezuelans here in Florida, most of them in Miami, but I've had the great opportunity to meet a number of them. And I can tell, I'm not saying they're not out there, but I have yet to meet someone who grew up, was raised in Venezuela, or has relatives that are still there, because I got a little of both friends of mine that say, hey, socialism is the way to go. In fact, it's just the opposite. As I say, there may be some out there. I've met a few. I've not met one that said socialism, yeah, is the way to go. In fact, in Florida, one of the things that killed Bernie Sanders, as we know, was when he said that, when he praised the socialist communists in Fidel Castro. Well, at least they can read. That kind of thing, man. Yeah, they can read the writ that says you're going to be shot tomorrow. I mean, he didn't get it. I guess he still doesn't. But the Cubans and the Venezuelans and even Colombians and other people from Central and South America that have come to Florida that I've met, and I've met a number of them, the one thing they are in unison is they love the United States and they hate communism/socialism. And they will die not only to get away with it, but to defend it right here. Brain drain. It says brain drain. So these are my words here. Lame brains are here. They may have a brain drain, but we have a lame brain situation here because we got young people, educated young people, and I've seen it right here at the great University of Florida, which is not far from where I'm standing or sitting right now. And we've got young people, although there are not many of them around right now, that actually believe that socialism, communism, even believe that China is a greater country than the United States of America. They told me this to my face when I was covering for America's Voice News Donald Trump Jr. rally that was held here. I really heard from them. So I just say this, I'll conclude with this. We in America, we need to wake up. You don't have to like Donald Trump. Now, I hope you will, but you don't have to like President Trump. But if you don't wake up and really, if you love America, you can't possibly keep electing these progressive leftists that are running the Democratic Party. I think we need a two-party system, but that you Democrats need to take that party back over because we are moving rapidly and Republicans are helping them, especially right now. We've been talking about this for the last several days, what these Republican governors and Democrats, and both are doing to us. Our God-given inalienable rights are being taken from us literally without a fight. And some people are starting to stand up. Talked about that yesterday. I told you how to look at it. But Democrats want to bring this here. Let me just tell you flat out, and this is one of my axioms. If you haven't tuned in before, you may not have heard this. Progressives that are running the Democratic Party. Here's the deal with them. And I've dealt with them on a very personal political level. I used to be mayor of my little hometown. and I'm kind of a political leader in my community. You can't deal with progressives. And I think President Trump, the one thing he's been a bit naive about coming in, he actually thought that if he won the election, the Democrats would work with him. They're not the Democrats you grew up with either, President Trump. This current crop of Democrats, which are hardcore leftist progressives, in some cases outright communists, they can't be reasoned with. They can't be dealt with. They can't be negotiated with. The only thing you can do is defeat them at the ballot box. That's it. So you try to reason with them, have your Facebook debates with them, but come November, you better realize that if you don't want to go the route of Venezuela, you better vote for red and you better vote for Donald J. Trump. All right, let me check my time here. We got a few more minutes left. I want to cover this part right here because this is really cool, man. This is from WND. Rush Limbaugh offers Trump to take over my radio show. So the Rush Master, the guy, what did he say, with one hand tied behind his back? Before we go any further, let me just give a couple kudos to Rush. First of all, nobody in this business, if you're in conservative talk radio, talk show, TV, radio, it don't really matter. You wouldn't probably be where you are if it wasn't for Rush Limbaugh. I mean, I've never met the man. He's never done anything particularly to help me, although I'm ready, Rush, anytime, man. Discover me right here, man. But if it wasn't for the Godfather, then none of us would be doing what we're doing. So thanks to him and prayers to him. Even this is what gets me. Even if you hated the guy, I don't understand the attitude about trying to pray for the guy to actually recover from this lung cancer that he has. So I'm with it on that. But let's get to this story. Talk show legend Rush Limbaugh is making an extraordinary offer to President Donald Trump, giving the commander-in-chief, and I like how they say that because Donald Trump is the commander-in-chief, unlike Obama, because I heard somebody on Facebook yesterday chimed in that President Trump's ultimately going to be running against Obama, and there's some truth to that. But remember, Obama didn't believe in being commander-in-chief. He was a voice in a chorus. He literally said, and that's one thing about progressives, if you listen to them, they'll tell you exactly what they're thinking. Obama literally said he believed in leading from behind. And not my words, those were his words. But Donald Trump giving the commander-in-chief a chance to connect with even more Americans by taking over his top-rated radio program. I think Rush has like 50 million people listening at any given moment. But Limbaugh said, if the president wants to do this, if he wants to come on and have a show, we'll let him do it. So Limbaugh is offering President Trump the chance of a lifetime, right? President Trump, I'm going to tell you, he'd be a natural. I have no doubt he could do it and pull it off pretty easily. And it's not that easy to do. Radio is a very interesting medium because the idea that they don't have any pictures, any video, means that you have to create the story. Go back and listen to like old time radio when they like Gunsmoke or something. And it takes a lot of talent to create a vision in people's head. And one of the great things about radio versus video is that you do get to create your own picture. I remember, I guess I'm showing my age here, but I remember when music videos first came out, MTV, when they actually used to play music videos. The first ones that came out were literally just bands playing, like a snippet from a concert or recording session. I kind of like those. But then they started getting this, the artist's vision or whatever, and they had all these different things. I don't like those kind of videos because one of the great things about like 70s music that I listen to a lot, because I'm a child of the 70s, every song has a certain image for me personally in it. I don't care about this or that or the other. It means something to me. So to create that, radio does that. And Rush Limbaugh is probably the best there's ever been at doing that. Anyway, I can't give him enough credit. The Godfather, thank you, sir. Check me out. Hey, here I am. I'm here making it known. This is what Rush said. Making it known, I will call later too, talking about to the president. But I'm doing it here, making it known that this program is available to the president. Mine is too, by the way, Mr. Trump. You can come on anytime you want to. President, if he wants to audition, he wants to use it for a town hall. If he wants to have direct contact with you, talking about the voters out there, that we got it handled. So, here's the deal. I can hear it now. Trust me, if this hadn't come out already, you will see it somewhere. they're going to say Trump traded the Medal of Freedom to Rush Limbaugh to get a radio gig. They're literally, I guarantee you that's going to come out, that somehow Donald Trump gave the Medal of Freedom just so he could get airtime on Rush's show. If that hadn't come out yet, it will. We could, here's back to what Rush's comments he said. Let me check my time, doing pretty good. He said, we could do it at noon to 3, 4, as long as he wants. He could have direct connect with you, talking about the audience. You know, not a bunch of bureaucrat experts. We don't need more bureaucrat experts on the stage, and certainly no journalists choosing the questions or any of that. Now, I understand why Rush is saying that, and people have been asking, I hear it all the time, how come President Trump allows like Jim Acosta and others like him to come in there and badger him with questions? Why doesn't he get somebody like from America's Voice News or, have me on there or something like that? And he should do more of that. There's no question about that. But keep in mind, President Trump knows for a fact that there are people watching him now that have never watched him before. I mean, the ratings show that. There are people, because they're sitting at home, right? And they're watching him that never has. So he is using the platform to expose the media for the fools and frauds that they truly are. So keep that. When you get frustrated by having a Jim Acosta up there, realize that President Trump is playing them like a fiddle, man. He is playing them like a fiddle. But he said, getting back to Limbaugh, he said, we'll do it in a different way than anybody's ever done town halls or any of that stuff. And I would love to hear it. I would love to hear President Trump, and maybe he should take him up on that. And some people will come out with this criticism that you hear all the time about Donald Trump. He's something or other, unnatural, he's unhinged. I can't wait till he's unleashed when he wins again in 2020. If you campaign for him like he's 2 votes behind, and the next 2 people you see are going to put him over the top, the president will win. Because I've been telling you, President Trump's going to do his job. Sometimes I'm worried about us taking things for granted. Are we going to do ours? Because he's going to work it. There ain't no doubt about it. He's going to work it. But if he goes on Rush Limbaugh, if he does a radio show either with Rush or on his own, is that unpresidential? We talked about the checks a couple of days ago, about the checks with President Trump signing on them. Here's the thing about that. Everybody thought, that should never been done. It's never been done before and all that kind of stuff. It's politics and everything else. And look at Obama. When Obama did the stimulus deal, he put signs up literally on projects all over America, essentially saying, brought to you by President Obama. You got this job because I brought it to you. I mean, they advertised like they were selling real estate, man. Like it was a Parade of Homes deal when they had that shovel-ready deal, stimulus package and everything. They used your money, not to give it back to you like Donald Trump is doing, but to promote themselves. So I don't want to hear that crap that this is unpresidential. But the other thing is, I don't want President Trump to be presidential. This is what a lot of liberals don't seem to understand. I want Donald Trump to be unpresidential. Because one of the reasons I voted for him, and I'd like to hear from you if you agree with this. Chime in on Facebook. You don't agree? Chime in as well. I don't mind getting trolled every now and then. Some of you know who you are. You troll every day. It's funny how you must have a lot of time on your hands to troll shows like that. But hey, welcome. Please invite your friends. More the merrier. But I don't know about you, but one of the reasons I voted for President Trump was not to be, quote, presidential, but to bring a proverbial political bomb to Washington, to blow that sucker up, to be one of those shaky things where it snows, to take Washington and go, yeah. That's what I want him to do. And I can tell you, I told this to a liberal friend of mine on Facebook the other day, I have voted for people across the political spectrum. I've been happy with some of my votes. I've been embarrassed by some of my votes. But never, ever have I felt better about my vote than the vote that I cast in 2016. And I am not only excited, but I wish it was today that I could vote to renew in 4 more years for President Trump. So he's doing promises made, promises kept. The biggest promise he's done for me is he has shaken things up, and he keeps on shaking and baking, man, and I love it. The offer comes, talking about with Trump doing the Limbaugh show, the offer comes in the wake of the New York Times report that Trump himself has sought a radio program of his own, but did not wish to compete with Limbaugh, a fellow resident of Palm Beach, because now Donald Trump's a resident of Florida. Welcome, Mr. President. He's one of the few New Yorkers that brings the right kind of politics to Florida. You know, a lot of you people from New York, and I love New York, man. I worked up there in the mid-'80s for about 4 years, a little over 4 years, and I loved it up there. But I tell my New York friends, come to Florida. We need your money, all that, but don't bring Corona, but don't bring your tax policies with you, because we're quite happy not having an income tax and all the socialist stuff that you have developed in New York. But so Limbaugh's a resident of Palm Beach, President Trump is, and I've been longer than both of them resident of Florida. I'm like a 5th or 6th generation, man. While analyzing the report, Limbaugh explained Donald Trump is one of the few who could fill my shoes. With proper training and proper instructions, I could see that, Limbaugh said. He said, I think there'd be nobody better to fill my shoes than Donald Trump. I've often said nobody could, but if anybody could, it would be him. Well, I don't disagree with you. I think Donald Trump would be a natural. I wouldn't mind seeing him do it, but Rush, hey, don't forget the old salty dog here and Billy Bob, man. Give us a shot. You've given a bunch of people a shot, and I'm sure they're grateful for it. But let me co-host the show one day or do an hour or be a fill-in for you. Because, you know, unlike Nancy Pelosi, I really am praying for you, man. I want to help you. But Rush went on to say, I find it once again very pleasing, satisfying that a man who owns television would want to be on radio. And then he gets into what I was talking about, how radio creates a vision and all of that kind of stuff. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know, this concludes a pretty trying week for us here in the great United States of America. I want to say a couple of things here in the closing minutes because, you know, first of all, I want you to have a blessed, great weekend. But and supposedly we're peaking out. I know Ron DeSantis, our great governor here in Florida, is supposed to announce today a task force for when we're opening Florida back up. People are hoping for May 1st and all of that. We need to take our country back. It is up to us as individuals. We as rugged individuals have to assess our own risk. We cannot sit back and simply wait for Donald Trump in the White House, for Ron DeSantis in the governor's house, for Cuomo in New York to tell us that it's safe for us to get out that side. It has never been safe. Now, I'm not saying don't practice all the things they're telling us to do. Social distance, wash your hand, mask if you think that's for you, all that kind of stuff. Protect our old people, no question about it. But I don't know how else to say it, America. We got to get back to work. We got to get back to work. And I played this clip yesterday. I'm not going to play it again today, but go back and look at our show from yesterday. We played a clip that was on Tucker Carlson's show where he was interviewing the governor of New Jersey. And Tucker Carlson asked him basically what gives you the authority to suspend the Bill of Rights. And the governor looked right in the camera and said, I wasn't even thinking about the Bill of Rights. Never crossed my mind. Never crossed my mind. And I said yesterday, and I'll say it again, that is one of the most frightening things I have ever heard a politician say. Never even thought about the Bill of Rights. But he was honest about it. I'll give him that. And that is, he could be now the poster child. If Joe Biden doesn't end up running for president for some reason, they need to get the guy from New Jersey because he represents what the Democratic Party has become. Never even thought about the Bill of Rights. The Constitution is in the way. And if we don't want to be like Venezuela, then we better wake up. That's all I can tell you. Because it's being taken from us. Everything that our founding fathers and our military and our people across the spectrum have fought and died for is now being taken from us without even firing a shot. And some people don't even know it. They don't even realize it. That's what scares me. That's one reason why I'm committed to doing this show day after day after day, battling ignorance and apathy, because I firmly believe that if we don't man the political ramparts, we're surely going to have to man the real ones once again, which would be a terrible, tragic shame because that price has already been paid in blood over the decades and even centuries. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Please go directly to John Martin Facebook page, like it, share it with others. As I say, check out our YouTube channel, John Martin Talks. And of course, we're on multiple things with America's Voice News, including Dish Network Channel 219. As I've been saying for the last several weeks, and I'm going to keep saying it through all this craziness, I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. But above all else, like I say each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day. Thank you.